Hello and welcome to News Center. I am Ashmit Kumar. Now, we have a packed lineup for you today. The first story on our radar, the Indian government is considering a proposal that would require artificial intelligence companies to pay royalty to creators for using their copyrighted work. Now, these companies will have to pay creators for content used to train models. Under this proposal, the central body will be set up for collecting royalty payments from these companies. The royalty will then be distributed to creators whose content has been used for training the models. The working paper is open for public comments for 30 days. Remember, no country has a statutory licensing regime for AI developers just yet. To tell us more about it, to what the challenges may be, what the concerns may be, is with us the founding partner of the Quantum Hub, Rahul Kumar. Rohit, thank you so much for joining us. The first question what I want to ask you is that the situation that we find ourselves in, where we're promoting AI as well, at a time now we're coming in with this proposed policy of introducing royalty-based payments for creators. How sustainable is this going forward, given as how we are short of a global precedent? We've not seen any country do this. India appears to be the first off the boat. How sustainable, how viable is this plan, this proposal?
So I think you're absolutely right. India seems to be one of the first ones that is attempting to do this. Globally, different kinds of models have been tried because unfortunately, nobody seems to have the right answer. And the tech has advanced really rapidly. There are a lot of positive use cases that we see for the tech, and therefore governments want to sort of make sure that that innovation happens. But at the same time, it is pitting creators against AI companies whose content is copyrighted. Now, I feel, and this is my opinion, that the committee has tried very hard to try and balance these competing interests. At one end is innovation, and at the other end is protecting creators' copyright, and also maintaining the incentive to create more in the future and to make sure that their revenue doesn't decrease. But I feel that in trying to do that balancing act, the committee has come up with something that I, number one, don't think is very feasible. It's not sustainable. And I feel that it is actually an example of a policy that is likely to fail strongly in implementation. And I'm happy to give you reasons. But globally, a lot of different models have been tried, and there is resistance to most models across the globe. Either the
So
AI
not viable.
Yeah, sorry.
Not viable, not sustainable, potential failure of this model. Strong words you're using there, Rohit. Help us understand the reasons behind that. One of the concerns that we found that was put out there on social media was by creators saying that, look, I'm losing my sense of agency. I will not be able to negotiate now with an AI company. There is no opt-out mechanism for copyrighted work. Is that also a concern?
That is also a concern. I would come to that a little later, though. I'll tell you the first important concern is that, it's been said the way the government is trying to sort of balance this act is say that I'll do a mandatory blanket license so that nobody is able to opt out. And the reason for that is that, ultimately the technology is as good as the data sets and the material that is available for it for training. And India wants to develop models that are contextually relevant, that farmers can use, that, understand the Indian cultural context to be able to produce those outputs. But if there are holdouts because, creators groups sees this as an opportunity to make revenue and the tech is not able to advance, then India will lose out in that race, right? Having said that, so what the committee said is that we'll do a blanket license, no opt-outs, but the government will set a rate which all AI companies have to pay royalty on. That will then become the money that will flow to creators. But the way they have done it, they said that the government committee will decide a certain percentage of revenue, gross global revenue of models that have been commercialized, that will accrue to these creators, that will be collected. Now, there are multiple problems with this construct, right? Firstly, models are being developed globally, and some models may have trained only a small amount of Indian content, but we are tying their global revenue to make a payment. And then there is also, in some cases, if you see, models may not be deployed independently. Like you see, Gemini, for instance, has been integrated in search. So how do you decide how much of search revenue should be attributable to Gemini? And then on that basis, how do you decide what percentage should come to Indian creators, right? So I feel that
so number of operational challenges that you've pointed out on the side of the companies as well. From the side of the creators, does this loss of agency, the inability to negotiate, a creator not having agency on their own creation, not being able to negotiate, will that also come in the way of perhaps realizing what could be a good, a sustainable remuneration for the creators, for the creator economy at large?
It will, because right now, see, ultimately, all content, copyrighted material cannot be placed on equal value, right? In fact, currently, if you see some of the AI companies negotiating deals with media houses or publishers, etc., globally, and they're valuing it at different levels depending on what is the value that that content brings to their model. For instance, right now there are deals happening between TV producers, media publications, etc., and each is valued differently. So I feel that creators who are at currently being able to demand more in the market may feel shortchanged, and may feel that their art is not being valued the way, or their work is not being valued the way it can be valued in a free market. Whereas the creators, there are many creators right now who are not even coming to the negotiating table because they're not
Right.
aggregated or they don't have a voice. So I think the government has tried to, find a compromise solution where one side loses to some extent, but the other gains. But I feel that the solution that they come up with is not going
Right,
to
Rohit.
succeed either.
So the government trying to do walk the middle path here. At least that is what the DPIIT officials were telling us. But going forward, of course, many questions being asked about how sustainable this approach will be going forward. Open to public comments. The government saying that if this were to go forward, they could possibly consider an amendment to the Copyright Act. But that's unfortunately all the time that we have. Rohit, thank you so much for joining us, being a part of this conversation. But moving ahead now.